Car 320 here is one of the cars that came to us from southern Iowa. Down at Centerville, Iowa, in the 1950s, there was a group of rail fans that organized a trolley museum on an existing electric railway. It was down there at Centerville, ran out of Centerville to Albia originally, and other towns north to Mystic and farther north. And there were several cars preserved there, among them the 320 from Chicago area, Chicago, Aurora, and Elgin Railroad, which was a high-speed commuter line out of Chicago. And there were several other cars, including Car 9, a very old car built in the 1890s by the Barber Car Company. That was a small suburban and rural car that carried old freight, carried passengers, carried less than carload freight also. These cars were at Centerville, operated in the 50s for 6-7 years, something like that, for the railfan tours. They would have several trips a year. Railfans came from all over the country to see these preserved electric railway cars at Centerville, Iowa. Well, after a while, that road eventually was dissolved and torn up, but they came here to Mount Pleasant, and they have a home now where they're likely to survive for a long time to come at Old Threshers. Midwest Old Threshers preserves many things, as well as cars like this one. Some of the folks that were able to bring these up here included James Levis of Waterloo, an employee of John Deere Company, and Elmer Carr of Ottumwa, Iowa, whose father actually had been a motorman on the Ottumwa Railway and Light Company. Many of these folks were NRHS, that is National Railroad Historical Society members, and all of them loved these things enough to preserve them. They spent many, many hundreds of hours restoring these, both at Centerville and up here. This car underwent a long-term restoration that lasted over 5 years, and it has been restored to its original elegance with its original stained glass windows, replacing the old stuff that was painted over. And the other car, the Car 9, which we may take a look at here, is another one that has been preserved. In spite of its age, it's really still carrying on and soldiering on, carrying passengers. That's the wonderful thing, really, about a museum operation like this. We're able to show people these cars performing, doing what they were built to do, carry people. And there are hundreds and hundreds of people that ride these during our reunion. There may be long lines, up to 100 long, waiting to get on the cars here during the reunion time. These cars also carried not only passengers, but carried freight, less than carload freight. Merchants could load their freight on at one town and have it in the next town within several hours. You sometimes can't do that with Federal Express. This car carried passengers Albia, Centerville, Iowa, and it was a rural trolley line connecting small towns and farms. Generally, these lines would stop at any road along the way where somebody would wave them down. At night, actually, you were supposed to light up a newspaper and wave it in the air. Usually the motorman would, they would say, "Why didn't you light that sooner? What do you think, I can stop this thing on a dime?" These were cars that really made rural living better because people could get to the market, they could get to town to shop, and the communication was a lot better. This is something that really happened beginning in the 1890s when electric railways began to be connecting towns instead of just operating in a city. Originally, the street railway lines were horse car lines, then they were electrified, and eventually businessmen started connecting these small city lines with each other to create an interurban network, something that led to the first great wave of pleasure travel.